Hey guys, this is Carl from carlsapsy.com here with another tutorial. If you have any questions about my videos or anything in general, head to my website and you can message me via my Contact Me page. Or if you want to, just leave me a message down below in the comment section and like my videos and subscribe to me if you want to.
So what I'm going to be doing with you guys today is I'm going to be doing another pretest loop, which is a while loop. So as I in my last tutorial said that a pretest loop is a loop that will only run if a specific condition is met before entering the loop. After this I'll also be doing a post-test loop. And a post-test loop is what we're going to be doing is a do-while loop. So in my readme text I've said a while loop is a block of code that will run forever as long as a condition is true. So as long as a Boolean condition is equal to true, so a Boolean check, so for example 4 is less than 5, then this block of code will be executed. If this condition is not met, then the block of code then the while loop will not be run and the loop will be skipped completely and this block of code will immediately be run. If the while loop becomes false at any point, so for example, let's say you have an incrementation, so if you say x is equal to 0 and then you increment x each time, and if it gets greater than 5, then you want to terminate the block of code, or you want to terminate the loop and then continue with this block of code. The next kind of loop we'll be looking at after this is a do-while loop. So a do-while loop is a post-test loop, and do-while loop. And in this, so what's going to happen is, first of all, is the loop will be run at least once, then the condition will be checked. So the syntax for this is just generally do, open curly braces, then you've got your block of code in here, and then you've got your closing braces, and then you've got while Boolean check. So that's the syntax of a do-while loop. So let's put this into practice. So I've made a class called while, and it's a main application, and that's the one I'm going to be using today. I'm not going to be using any classes or anything in this tutorial. First thing we're going to do is we're going to assign a variable, and this is going to be of type integer, so we're going to say int x, and we're going to assign the value 0. As we're using a pretest loop for the first one, so as we're doing a regular while loop, we're going to say while, and then we have our Boolean check. So for example, we can say x is smaller than 10. A Boolean is a value that is either true or false. So, for example, 4 is smaller than 5 will be evaluated to true, whereas 5 is smaller than 4 will be evaluated to false. After doing this, so the first thing that will be checked is if x is smaller than 10, then I want to print out, so system.out.println, the value of x is, and then concatenate it with the value of x that I'm using, and then I'm just going to increment the value of x. Okay, and I'm just going to go edit, so layout. Okay, so now this should compile fine. Okay, there are no syntax errors in this. What I've done here is I've said that whilst this condition is true, so as of now x is 0, so while 0 is smaller than 10, which is true, print out the value of x. Then I want to increment the loop, so then the value of x gets incremented, so the next time x is equal to 1. It will then check if 1 is smaller than 10, then print it out because 1 is smaller than 10. When this value gets to 10, 10 is not smaller than 10, 10 is equal to 10, therefore the loop will be printed out. The loop will be terminated. And the next thing that I'll say in here is I'll just say system.out.println, the loop has now been terminated. Okay, now this will run fine as well. So when this gets to the value of 10, the loop will be terminated because the condition is now false. Therefore, the next block of code will be executed, which is the line, the loop has now been terminated. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So compile it, run my while loop. And as you can see here, it says the value of x is 0, the value of x is 1, all the way down to the value of x is 9. And when x is equal to 10, then it says the loop has now been terminated because x is not smaller than 10, x is equal to 10. If we want to print out the value of 10, then all we're going to do is we're going to say while x is smaller than or equal to 10. Therefore, any value above 10 will no longer be printed. So let's go ahead and show this. Okay, so as you can see here, the value of x is 0 all the way until 10, and then when x is 11, it says the loop has now been terminated. That's all a while loop is. So this is our this is our pre-test loop. So the first thing that's going to be checked, the first part of it is the check of the Boolean statement, then the block of code is run, assuming that the condition met is true. Okay, now this will run indefinitely. Okay, the reason this stops at 10 is because obviously I've put a limitation on here. However, if I just were to say while true, okay, and then take this out, then the value of x will be run forever. Okay, and all that will be printed out is the value of x will be 0, but this will go on forever. It will never stop. Okay, because even if I were to increment it, which I could, then it will say the value of x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it will go on indefinitely. And therefore, the loop will never actually be terminated. Therefore, you will get an error saying unreachable statement. Now I'm going to go on to a post-test loop, which is the do-while loop. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove all of that. A post-test loop will, first of all, run the loop, and then it will check the condition to see whether it's true or not. And then because of that, since it's coming afterwards, if the condition is still met, then the loop will be run again. If the condition is not met, then the loop will be skipped afterwards. However, it'll always run at least once. For this one, I'm going to have another integer, so I'm going to call this int y, and I'm going to make that 0. And I'm going to say do, open curly braces, system.out.println, the value of y is plus y, okay, and, oops, sorry, there you go. And I'm going to say y plus plus here. So this is the loop that I want to be running. So what's going to happen is, first of all, it's going to print out the value of y is 0, and then it's going to increment it. However, I need there to be some form of limitation on this, otherwise it will go in indefinitely, which sometimes you may want that, but generally you do need there to be some form of limitation so that it doesn't go on indefinitely. Otherwise the loop will never be exited. So what you do here is you end the do loop, and you say while the condition, so while open brackets, while, and then I'm going to say while y is smaller than 10. And that's all there is to it. So that is my do while loop complete. So what happens here? First of all, I've made a variable of integer type, and it's assigned a value of 0. I've then created a do while loop which says, first of all, do this block of code and then check the condition. If this condition is met, then run the loop again. If the condition is not met, then directly exit the loop. Okay, so underneath here, I'm going to have again system.out.println. The loop has been exited, or loop was never entered. Okay, so there are no syntax errors, so if I go ahead and compile this now, okay, so as you can see here, it says the value of y is 0, the value of y is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then as it gets to 10, it says the loop has now been exited, or the loop was never entered. because the value is equal to 10, and therefore the loop condition is no longer met, therefore the loop is therefore quit, and the next block of code is therefore executed, which is not within the scope of the do while loop. Okay, so if I were to assign the value of y to be 11, let's say, and compile this, then directly all that will be printed out is the value of y is 11, because the do while loop will always execute the piece of code first. However, as the condition is no longer met, it will then say the loop has been exited or the loop was never entered. Okay, so let me show you how that works again. So it says the value of y is 11 because the block of code is first of all executed and then checked, and then it says the loop has been exited or the loop was never entered. And that's all there is to it for the while loop and the do while loop. So these are the while loop is a pre-test loop and the do while loop is a post-test loop. Both of them are very fundamental kinds of loops, and you can use either or in Java programming. It doesn't really make a difference. However, if you're using the do while loop, do remember that what will happen is the block of code will be executed first before the while condition is checked. Whereas in the pre-test loop, the while condition is first of all checked, so the Boolean condition is first of all checked before the block of code is actually executed, and that's very fundamental. If you have any other questions, then feel free to leave me a comment down below or drop me an email via my website. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. This is Carl from carlsapsy.com.